Sure.
Okay.
So, hello everyone. I hope you are all keeping safe during these critical situations. Today, I, Takshima Maheshwari, on behalf of Legal File, welcome you all in the panel discussion on the topic Important I of Law School, that is internship. From finding an internship to drafting the CVs and cover letters, it is a difficult task. And at the same time, we aren't usually taught these things in the college or any of these technicalities that are required for us in the internship. Not only this, but if a student doesn't get an internship, he faces a lot of issues. He doesn't feel right. Therefore, it is very important for us to discuss and deliberate over all these issues. Okay, so we have Avani ma'am here. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
So today, our esteemed panel is going to discuss and deliberate on all the aspects and issues related to internships. I would also like to take a moment and introduce the honorable panel before you all. So today we have with us Ms. Pallavi Pratap. She is the managing partner with Pratap and Co. She is the advocate on record in Honorable Supreme Court of India and practices in various high courts, tribunals, NCLT, NCLAT, NCDRC, etc. We are grateful to have you today with us. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Takshima, for having me here. And thank you so much, Damni, for giving me the opportunity to speak today on a very relevant topic.
Another panelist that we have today is Ms. Surangama Sharma, who is a senior partner in S&D Partners. She believes in providing solutions to the problems and not only a piece of advice. Started practicing in 2015, she provides personalized legal consultancy and advocacy services to her clients across a variety of subjects. She is very well positioned to advise and practice litigations on civil, commercial, criminal, and constitutional law. Thank you, ma'am, for coming in this session.
Thank you, Takshima and Damini, for having me on board. Thank you.
Okay, now we have Mr. Prateek Jain. He is graduated from Gujarat National Law University in 2019 and is currently pursuing PGD in Consumer Law and Practice from NLSIU Bangalore. He is an advocate and managing associate at NC Jain Advocate and Associates, Jaipur. He deals in civil and commercial litigation and arbitration. He is closely working with startups to help them with compliance, industry specific contract management, and dispute management. Thank you, sir, for sparing your time for this session.
Thank you so much, Sakshima and Damini, for having me here. It's quite an honor to be a part of the panelists today.
Now we have Mr. Danesh Mehta. He is a civil and criminal lawyer based in Mumbai. He has gained work experience from various law firms in Mumbai and Chicago, along with judicial clerkship at Supreme Court of India. His experience in commercial law and business strategy provides him with expertise to advise new businesses. He is well versed with contract drafting, dispute resolution, and real estate advisories. Thank you, sir, for coming through this session.
Thank you, Takshima. Thank you, Damini. Happy to be here.
We have Mr. Prakhar, currently a senior associate in arbitration practice group of Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas. He focuses on arbitration and litigations arising out of large infrastructure development contracts, business exit agreements, and supply contracts. He is an overseas member of the Society of Construction Law, UK. He has also advised diplomats and foreign embassies in their disputes with Indian parties. Thank you, sir, for coming in this session.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you.
Now, lastly, we have Ms. Avani Pathak. She has worked as a research associate at Vakil Search. In 2019, she joined Live Law as the corporate head, a position which she currently holds. She has worked with some of the leading organizations in the field of corporate and business advisory. She is also the recipient of the prestigious CBSE Indira Gandhi Scholarship. We are grateful to have you here, ma'am. Now,
Ma'am, you're on mute. Avni, ma'am, you're on mute.
Yeah,
I was saying thanks a lot for having me, Damini.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Now, once again, I would like to extend my gratitude to all the panelists and the spectacles who have joined us today in this session. Now, I would request Damini to take over.
Thank you so much, Takshima, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. So, without taking your much time, we would just start the event. So, I would like to proceed with the first question by asking a very basic question which deals with the current situation of COVID 19. Because these are such testing times. So, the internship scenario, everything got changed. So, would you people mind sharing like the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the virtual internships or the virtual internships which are going on in the market right now? Would you people mind sharing the pros and cons of the COVID-19 pandemic versus the virtual internships? So, I'm going to give the mic to Advocate Pallavi Pratap.
Thanks, Damini. I think, yeah, it's been more than a year now that we've been looking at virtual internship just now. And as a matter of fact, I think it has been extremely interesting because you basically have everybody working at their own time schedule. It's not that, they actually have to report at 10 o'clock in the morning to the office. But what I've seen is that the kind of interns that we've got in the past one and a half years, they've all been very self-motivated and self-disciplined, unlike what it used to be from before, where you would have interns coming in, and every Saturday there would be a pizza party, and after 7 o'clock there would be some other party which would happen. So all of that, of course, is done away with. But the fact that they are at their home, they are disciplined enough to make sure that they are meeting up the timelines which are there. The kind of research that they're doing, I think it's extremely amazing. Although, of course, I feel that the fact that they could have access to commentaries that typically a law firm would have it may put them in a better position to do better research. But I feel that given the kind of problems and challenges that one is facing just now, I mean, not just the interns, advocates, everybody, all of us are facing just now. I think a lot of interns, as a matter of fact, in the past one and a half years since the pandemic came, I have been able to interact more with the interns than I used to be able to when they were physically present, because then probably there was someone else who was managing them, and I did not really have so much interaction. But now I think it's more interactive, and I'm amazed at the kind of knowledge and discipline that they bring. So I think I can only talk about pros, except for the fact that we don't have any samosa or pizza parties anymore. Other than that, everything looks really nice over here.
So, Prakhar sir, the mic is all yours. So, would you mind sharing the same thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with Pallavi regarding the pros that the virtual internship has. I would start with the cons because I feel that yes, as an intern who had experienced the physical internship, right through the now with the internship, I think the con of that would be that physical experience because as a lawyer, at the law student when you visit court, see how things are done, interact with the lawyers. So you learn the body language. So you see the lawyer to a judge. That was something physical. Although we try a lot to have communication skills, but what you perceive physically being there is completely different. And for a student who, I mean, as lawyers, we all have practiced these physical work, so now it is easier for us to adapt the virtual thing. But for a law student, I think that's one part of it. Hopefully, by this year end or by after Diwali, things will open up. So that is one part which I need to focus on. But it has actually given me the opportunity as well because during the times when we had physical internship, there was a lot of travel involved. After the law school, you have to go to states like Delhi, Bombay for internship. Now it involves a lot of costs as well. So now that thing is gone. Sitting at home anywhere in India, you can do the best of internship in India. You can work with the best lawyers. And the virtual course has given the opportunity to interns to actually see how course works. Because with physical internships, it's not possible to take all the interns for a course. But now it is possible sitting at home, you can see what's happening to the world, what's happening really happen. So it has pros and cons. But I think as of now, I mean, it is working its best for the students. So let's hope that they get this phase over and start with the
Okay, so now I'm going to give a choice to all the panelists who want to answer next.
Well, I could just put in a line more. I think Prakhar definitely summed up well
Summed
the
up, right?
cons of the virtual internship. But looking at the glass half full, I would say, at least from a, recruiter or an employer standpoint, the that pool of talent that you can dip into during a virtual internship was not something you could do prior, because we would look locally. If we are a Bombay law firm or Delhi law firm, you look in Bombay or Delhi for interns. Over here, I have myself have under me interns from North, from South India, and they're just amazing people out there who I would never thought of exploring that area, because they are so far away from you. And I think this virtual internship just opens your mind that it doesn't matter where you are from, you still have great law students, great lawyers all over the place.
What I personally believe, for students, those who are inclined towards litigation or those who wish to have a taste of court corridors, this is a little drawback for them. So now, what more they can do, or the what maximum they can do the research part. So this is something I believe is lacking, and kids, those who are interested, or those who wish to see how courts actually work, because I remember when I was in my first year, second year, this was the biggest craze for me. I wanted to get inside that. I wanted to be in that corridor. I wanted to see how judges are sitting, where plaintiff is there and where the defendant is standing. So all these things are missing. But yes, one good thing is, like as Mr. Danish said, an intern from North can be, a competent intern who's interning before a firm located in Maharashtra, or for that reason Tamil Nadu, anywhere. So yes, geographical learning has expanded, but the physical feel that we used to get is missing now. And the discipline part, of course, what I believe, when those interns are coming and sitting at your office, they are more disciplined. They are following with the timelines, because they, some or the other way, they have that fear in their mind. But now the virtual concept has completely given it a swift twist. So we all are coping up with this, and probably interns, I really wish for the first year students right now कि उनको वो time देखने को मिले down the lane 5 years. I wish this thing should not go for long.
Okay, so Avni ma'am, would you like to add on something?
Sure. I'll start with a lighter note. So my law school was in Noida, and so New Delhi is basically the hub of internships. So I guess law students from around the country, they do land up in New Delhi at least twice for their internships. And the idea of landing in Delhi is basically, oh my God, you're going to Delhi. So the excitement is like, I'm going to go to this, get a place, just get done with the internship quickly at 7 o'clock and then party. Forget about what's happening. It's all about, just be in New Delhi, having a great time and enjoying as much as you can. And I know, it's not been very long since I finished law school. So I remember my days of internship as well. But coming back to virtual internships, right, I would say the best internship I did while in law school, which actually made my career in some ways, was a virtual internship. It was, I would say, a mix of a part-time job and a virtual internship, which happened in, my final year of college, wherein, I learned things I never learned while, interning at like the best of law firms with the best of lawyers, because, firstly, there were many concerns. You're like traveling for 2 hours, to your office, maybe taking a metro. From Noida, I'm going to, some corner of Delhi for an internship. Then I'm coming back again. I'm tired. I have no energy. My brain is not functioning at all. So I think that way, a virtual internship was very useful. Plus, yeah, I know certain internships cannot be completely done virtually, but I think research internships can. Because while you're researching on something, most of the research tools are online. Of course, if you're drafting something, you might need somebody to sit next to you and tell you, help you out with your doubt, tell you how it's done. But if it's like a research internship, and I guess every law student needs to do certain research internships, because end of the day, if you're going to become a lawyer, Research is something which is something you're going to do your entire life. So I would say that some internships are much better and can be easily done virtually. And as you know, a lot of other people on the panel said that when they look for interns, they've got interns from around the country because traveling was not an issue. And I've got this feedback from a lot of students as well that, you know, while interning virtually, they could actually put in better energy and better efforts because, you know, the time was not getting wasted in traveling, changing metros, and, you know, they were not distracted that they have to go party after the internship and, you know, enjoy their life because they are in New Delhi. So yeah, I think there are both sides of the coin, but I'm personally more in favor of virtual internships.
Okay. So I would just like to add on that students currently are taking a lot of virtual internships. And when I say a lot, it means like one-to-one internships every month, right? So do you people think that quantitative or qualitative approach should work? So I would give the mic to Advocate Prateek Jain right now.
Uh, what I feel is that as a professional, I'll always prefer quality over quantity, and it will be very difficult to focus on quantity if you're a totally different mindset. Then you might focus on the quantity. But what I feel is more than the quantity, the duration of the internship is that what matters. So virtual internship has allowed you to intern for a continuous period for like 2-3 months. So that, for example, if you're working on a particular transaction, you can complete that transaction in that law firm. That allows you to you start and to end a particular work that you've done in an internship. I remember that when I was in my law school, we usually got 2 months to intern, 2 months of vacation, and we were always in a dilemma whether to go for a vacation or to intern at a certain place. So virtual internships has allowed us to intern for a longer duration that helps you to understand a matter well, because you are at the start of it and you complete it. So definitely virtual internships have their pros. And with respect to a lot of interns, one-to-one internships that you're saying, it's true. See, it's very difficult to have a running internship when you were going to college physically. Correct. So if you have the opportunity to intern, and it's not about the, as I say, you need to look at the quality of the internship. Correct. What happens usually is, when I was working in a law firm, there were interns there and they used to collate files, and they used to collate files for like 1 month, and then their internship used to end. So there's no purpose of doing 10 such internships, right? So it does not depend on how many internships you do. It depends on what work you do in that internship. That is what matters. And virtual internships, yes, I agree that you get most of the work as research. You get to do content writing, but those help, especially with technology law coming up. You researching on new topics like compliance for tech startups or fintech startups. It has created a new perspective for law students, because they don't just see uh, you know uh, that they're supposed to know a law or something, but it also, for example, for a young law firm who's looking to build their practice, they're also doing business development, right? So a legal intern also sees it from that point of view. When he's writing an article for the clients, for example, to cater to a certain target area, target audience. So that gives you a perspective. So yeah, definitely the quality of the internship matters over the quantity.
Thank you, sir. So moving forward, I would just say that I've heard this that it's not what you know, but it's all about it's like who you know, right? So I think networking and law schools go hand in hand. So, what do you people say about getting an internship through networks or contacts? So, is it like important to get internships every time through contacts, or in reality, is it like something that you're qualified as well, you're a capable candidate as well, and you have good connections as well? So, would any one of you mind sharing something regarding networking and career, which go hand in hand, or the importance of networking in law field and how to utilize the same? When to use your networks?
Right. So should I take this up?
Of
Okay.
course.
Because whenever something related to networking comes, I can't stop myself. I'm kind of a person who strongly believe that if we are into a profession, be it be a lawyer or a chartered accountant, or for that matter a doctor, so networking is something very essential. And to all the viewers and the students right now, I would like to say, if from the very beginning you can develop a capacity of networking, that will definitely help you at this stage. Maybe this will help you in getting good internship, and in time to come, if you are a good networker, this will definitely help you to fetch a good job. If I talk about my personal experience, in my 5 long years I have done 12 internships. Now I won't compare quality or quantity at this point of time. From the very beginning, I was able to strategize and bifurcate the categories I wanted to intern at every stage, from litigation, before like litigating lawyer, to a corporate or an in-house, to a ministry of finance. So I could categorize it. Why? Because I wanted to understand what actually suits me. So the I wouldn't say that you need to have a connection. If you are presentable enough, if you have a good network, if you are active on probably say networking sites like LinkedIn or such kind of official websites, this will definitely going to give you an edge. So be strong on your networking part.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Danesh sir, would you like to add on something, because you're always inclined towards networking in career, and you have done recently a session on career and networking. So, would you like to say something?
Sure. So I'd like to begin with by saying how I view networking is a marathon. It's not a sprint. The fundamental part of networking is trust, and trust is not built overnight. Trust takes time. Trust is over a period of days, sometimes months, and that's what clients look for in you. So yes, networking is very important. You could be a brilliant lawyer, a brilliant law student, but if no one knows you exist, what is the use of that, right? So you need to shout out and let everyone know, hey, I exist, this is what I do. That is networking. And remember, as a law student as well, lawyers don't become other lawyers clients, non-lawyers do. So don't hang around with only lawyer friends or law students. You should go beyond that, because at one point in time, maybe one day they will be your client. And just remember, another point of networking is that maybe you'll meet 100 people. It's like planting 100 seeds. It's that one seed that grows into a tree that can make all the difference. So keep planting your seeds everywhere, and I am sure that something will work out in your favor. Networking is very important, and don't make the mistake that, oh, I have to start networking when I become a lawyer. The best time to network is today when you are a law student.
Thank you, sir. So, Prakhar sir, like it's always said that legal profession, necessitates networking. But at the same time, for the first generation lawyers, it's very critical to handle both networking and their career. So, what would you say? Like, do you believe that both networking and career for the first generation lawyers go hand in hand?
Yeah, absolutely true. See, networking is something which is should be embedded in a law student. See, once you join a law school, as I said last when we interacted, that if you have that, you need to become a bit of an extrovert when you are in a law school, because our profession is such that we can't advertise. So it's all a word of mouth. If you are a good lawyer, you don't have to advertise yourself, someone else will say. And they will always say, because when they know you. So as a law student, I mean, networking can be also two things. There can be an active networking and there can be passive networking. Passive is when you do your work and let others notice you. So you don't have to just always boast about yourself. Or I've seen a lot of people, I mean, as Surgama said, that LinkedIn is good, but it should not just become your only tool to create a lot of contacts and message everyone. And so that's something which one has to take care for. And as a law student, the networking starts from making friends. I mean, it's not a task, it is something which comes naturally in you. So as you progress in law school, as you start interning, as you go around, visit other law schools, intern, so you start meeting around people. So that is what networking is. A very corporate term, but I would just say, just be known to others and make an effort to be known. So don't think it like a task, as I said. So that is something which is important. So because 5 years of law school, just it is not just studies, it is a personality development, and networking is something which is really important as part of your growth, because by the end of 5 years you should not be just a roll number in your college. You should be known at least by your peers in your law school, in other law schools, and maybe other lawyers. So if you have a name, and that really helps in the long way. So that is what I think should be the idea of networking as a law student.
Okay, so Pallavi ma'am, like networking is not only important for first generation lawyers or the students who are in the initial years of the law school, but networking is something which everyone should know, like how to proceed with the same. So, would you mind sharing some tips for those who are watching this session as to how they should start networking with people, taking into consideration the people who are very introvert?
See, the first generation lawyers, they basically get their first few matters at least from their friends, family, relatives, anybody who has some legal notice that needs to be sent or a small consumer court case to be filed. They are going to know that, okay, ye abhi vakil bana hai, so therefore let me just go and pick on that person's brain, because one, I will get a very cheap lawyer because this poor boy is just starting off, or girl is just starting off, and that's how you get your first case. At least I, for one, because I came from an investment banking background, had nothing to do with litigation. So my basic cases actually started to come from Facebook, where my friends suddenly realized, oh, she was an investment banker, how is she a lawyer now? So then obviously one case led to another. And reviews actually matter. Reviews matter a lot. People want to know, people want to see what you're doing. You have to be visible. People should know that the kind of work that you're doing, it is important, it is relevant, and if at all tomorrow they have something which is similar, they will, the first name that's going to strike is your name. So you should always be visible as far as that goes. Second, because obviously I came from an investment banking background. For me, networking was like just a second skill. So it was not, I mean, I can randomly go and start talking to people, be it anybody. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but that really helped me. So I think when I started off in Supreme Court, I knew only one or two advocates. Now practically I think I know a lot of people there. So that's another story. The third thing is that LinkedIn and other social media actually does help. You do get referrals, but you have to be sure that you're not actually promoting yourself, but you're visible in terms of the work that you're doing. So very interestingly, I've seen a lot of these young generation fifth year students, and the kind of articles that they've written and published on their own LinkedIn pages, amazing content. I mean, I'm like, what do you call it, I'm awed by the kind of knowledge that they have, the kind of reference that they've made, the manner in which it is flowing. It's just amazing to read such, and it's so crisp, just about 4 or 5 pages, and you've got the entire Lalit Kumar Jain judgment in 5 pages. It's huge. So all of that, I think, and then I, as a recruiter, also become aware that, okay, this person is there, he writes real, or he or she writes really well, so I might tomorrow offer an internship on my own. The other, I think, biggest problem, I don't know if others are facing this or not, but these direct messages that keep coming from everybody with respect to internship, honestly, that doesn't help. Believe me, people who have a LinkedIn profile or a Facebook profile, if you're going to DM them every day, all of us are receiving probably more than 50 to 100 requests every day for internship, right? So what happens is, it is very difficult for us to reply to you individually. Second, uh, you even forget to address me with my gender. So it's basically a cut, copy, paste. You're saying respected sir when I happen to be a ma'am. So I think that is a big no. And then the third most important part is that just randomly sending your CV doesn't really work. If there is something, if you're writing to me and that needs to catch my attention. If it is not, then believe me, I'm not going to go ahead and go through and scroll through the entire resume that you're sending. So that's just about a little bit about internship, because I don't know if I'll get the opportunity to speak again or not. And as far as networking is concerned, the last and the most important thing, we were doing this webinar yesterday, and I was on the panel with these senior advocates. Dr. Chaudhary was there, Dr. UK Chaudhary, who happens to be a stalwart as far as IBC goes. Mr. Sajan Purvaya was there. Krishnendu Datta sir was there, and there were few people who were asking. These were just young lawyers, or I think final year law students, who were asking as to how do you think that, in the current pandemic times, what do you think? How is it that we must survive? So Dr. Chaudhary actually shared a very interesting snippet, which is not relevant with networking, by the way, at all. But I think as a young lawyer or an internee, you might find this very relevant. So he says that he was basically, I think, interning under Justice Venkatachalaya at that point in time, many years ago. And he goes and asks, so he was about to leave his internship or something, and he says that, please do give me some advice so that I can become a very good lawyer. So he says that I will not give you one advice, I'll give you 3 advices. So he got really happy. Oh God, I'm going to get 3 advices and all of that. So Justice Venkatachalaya says, there are 3 things that I'm going to tell you. Read, read, read. And there are other 3 things that I'm going to say, which is speak, speak, speak. So if you're going to become a litigating lawyer, just as Avni pointed out, research is extremely important. So you have to read. And because you're going to be a litigating lawyer, you must be able to speak. And you should also know when you should stop. So I'm going to stop now. Damini, you can ask your question with someone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
The process starts with, finding internships and drafting CVs and cover letters. But can you people define what's the perfect CV and the perfect cover letter? Because sometimes people often ask or post this on LinkedIn, like if somebody could just explain them what's the perfect CV, or like what's the perfect cover letter. So the mic, who wanna take the mic for this? Like who wanna share the perfect definition of the perfect CV and the perfect cover letter?
Damini, I'll just add a few things. Firstly, there's nothing like a perfect resume or a perfect cover letter. That does not exist. Okay, a couple of things which a lot of students miss out is, I'll give you a small example. Say you want to apply to a research-based organization, say to an organization like Live Law, for example. Now, if you're applying to an organization like Live Law, of course, the main requirement there would be that you should understand research. You should be a great writer. You should, have great command over your language. It's fairly straightforward, right? As simple as that. It's not a litigating firm, it's not a corporate firm. It's a research organization, it's a media organization. A law student should basically be interested in research and content. Now, if you're writing a cover letter, of course, your cover letter should have details of what research you've done, what publication, if you have had publications, details of those publications. If something is not published, also any content you've written in details like that. Sadly, we don't get that from students. We get the standard, we get those standard applications where, the same application they've sent to a corporate lawyer, a litigating lawyer, a tier 1 law firm, a research organization, I don't know, a marketing company. We really don't know. So how are you going to understand? I think I've discussed this with I think Damini in another session itself, that companies and firms get thousands of internship applications every day, and this is not a joke, every day. So how are they going to go through, all the emails, read all the letters when there's nothing there in the letter itself? When you've described, the student has described that he's in so and so year, he's done this and that, he's done that, but he's showed no inclination towards research while applying for a research internship. Why would that person get an internship? That's one thing. And as far as resumes are concerned, there's one thing which I still don't understand. Students don't mention their contact details. I've suffered this, I've liked some CVs very much, and I'm, trying to find that person on LinkedIn, who was the student, this such a good CV, we need them, but there's no contact number. So, and some of the, I don't understand another thing why people put their pictures on their CVs. This is, I don't know, this is some new trend. I see so many students putting their photographs. That is so not required. I would say it's not professional, putting your pictures. And another thing is resumes. Some of these resumes are actually never ending. I don't think so anybody has the patience to read a CV which is like 5 pages long or 4 pages long. Just it, all we need to know is just what you've done. If you have any interest in what the organization does, and maybe a little about what you're studying and what your interests are. It's as simple as that. And if that matches, we will of course give you a call and at least speak to you once. But sadly, I'm sure everyone on this panel has faced this. Sadly, we don't even get that. So yeah, that's just one thing I wanted to add.
Damini, I would like to add what Avni said. So, a lot of students have this habit of cut, copy, paste, spray everywhere. So, they will find out some database where there'll be some email addresses. So they will have just same CV and they'll post it everywhere, thinking that somebody will reply. This works as well. It's no doubt it works, but it has to be steered with specifics. Suppose if you're applying for live law, then you have to specify. You don't need to write everything that I've done everything, now I'm applying there. Suppose if you're applying to a law firm, a corporate work, then you have to highlight something that they catch. It's like, and to be honest, the amount of law schools and law students are there at this moment. So reviewing a CV for internship, I think for most of the HRs is like scrolling Instagram. So you have to have that something which catches their eye. So it can't be a 10-page long CV. And suppose you are going to go for a corporate internship, you can't say I have written things about human rights and criminal law. It has to be very specific and to the point. And I think 1-page CV or resume is more than enough, at least for internship. Even for jobs, it's not more than 2 pages. And so one has to really give a lot of time and effort to, maybe even when I was in law school, we used to categorize our resumes into, like, okay, this is for a litigation law firm, this is for a corporate law firm. So do that. It takes some time. It will take one weekend to just restructure everything, see online, experiment with your resume. There are a lot of templates on Microsoft Word. Don't make it like very normal black and white with grid lines and college and CGPA. Try to think out of the box, because it's one document which is the most crucial one when it comes to getting an internship. And second, what Pallavi said is, see, networking is not something that you find somebody on LinkedIn, connect, and then after a week send a message that I'm interested. That doesn't really work, because there are many other students also who do the same. What really what the ideal practice is, find out the right person. Like, if I am a lawyer, if somebody messages me that I'm seeking to intern at your firm, can I get a contact of the HR? Can I know where to apply? Then maybe I can help. But if you say, please, here is my resume, please give me an internship, I can't do that. I think nobody can, because as lawyers we have so much of work and we don't have time for ourselves, and it's very difficult to cater all those messages. So be professional, and when it comes to CV and resume, be specific what you want to do. If you're applying for a corporate internship, then you can just say in the end that you have done some disputes internships as well, but you don't need to boast about it. And so just tailor your CV as per the requirement, and that is something which is very helpful in the long run.
So who would like to take the mic?
I just add one more point. I think it's been properly summed up already. But one main thing, before you send your CV or if you send your cover letter, put yourself in the shoes of the employer. Put yourself in the shoes of the person who's going to receive it. Think that person is going to receive 100 applications like this. How can you be different? What will set you apart? So when you think like that, automatically, I think you'll begin to understand what you should change in the cover letter, what should you change in your CV that can make it more attractive. So always put, like as we as lawyers say, put yourself in the client's shoes to understand. Similarly, I think when it comes to an internship, put yourselves in the shoes of the employer, the person you are sending your CV to. I think that is something crucial.
Yes, sir. So let me just add on something that.
If I,
Yes,
Damini,
sir. Please,
if
sir.
I can add something, yeah. So I'm going to share something that happened to me. So I had received an internship application. So The subject mail the subject of the mail was opportunity to hire a hardworking intern. That was the subject of the internship application, and it really stood out. But I'm not sure if you'd be trying that with the like a tier one law firm or something like that. But yeah, it works for startups, and yes, but it was that something stood out, and I was really keen on seeing what the CV was like.
That was a smart subject taken by the sender.
Yes,
You know,
definitely.
that's correct. We should, like all the interns or all the graduates, the students, those who are studying right now, it's very important to categorize. And as Mr. Prakhar said, just give your weekends and categorize it that where you wish to send your resume in order to get a better response.
And yeah, one thing is more that you focus on your subject line. So a
It should be
standard
catchy.
subject, I mean, don't make it so bizarre like what Pratik said, but you can just, and it's better that if you are in your third or fourth year, mention that you are in third or fourth year, because most of the firms, I mean, they want to have interns who are in third or fourth year. So maybe first or second year, yes, people do intern, but if you are in third or fourth year, do mention that, because that really helps out sometimes for the person to filter it out. So that's really which is helpful.
Yes, sir. So, like it is frequently mentioned that your CV should be updated with your accomplishments. But I think when it comes to internships, some people really don't have much of experiences and they don't mention anything about the same, or they have very less experience of the same. So, do you people think that recruiters should give students at least one or two internships? Because what happens is if you lack experience, you're not given a chance to intern. So, Surangama ma'am, what would you say about it?
I would like to pick the last line what Mr. Prakhar has just said. See, what I personally believe, if you technically you are interning almost after like 5 or 6 months, it's not possible that there is no update. You must have written some article, or you must have attended any webinar, or you must have given any sort of submission. So it's always good to keep your resumes or CVs updated. Give it a time, update your CV. Even if you're just adding and removing one line out of it, it will definitely make a change. So always update it, because if, as he said, that you can mention your year. So that will, if you're just mentioning like you're from fourth year, it's not possible that in third year you haven't done anything, or in your semester you haven't done anything. Always mention your semester, I mean your year, and then upgrade your resume. A first year student cannot have a resume as a final year student would. So there is always a upgrade opportunity of upgrade is always there, so keep updating your resumes.
Okay, so who would like to take the mic now?
Damini, as you said regarding the recruiters giving an opportunity. So, see, uh, by the time you are in second year, you may not get internships. I mean, you may get, but you may not get the desired internships you want. So, but by the time you are in fourth year, you can always ask for an assessment internship. Like, suppose you don't have an experience, and there can be many factors that you could not intern because you didn't time or you had some other issue. So always by the time you are in fourth or fifth year, you can always mention those reasons that maybe you were doing something else, but ask for an assessment internship. Don't really. I mean, that's something I think that recruiters do take into consideration, because in today's time, most of the recruiters, they want to assess, because uh, I mean, since there are virtual internships, you can always ask for an assessment internships if you are in final year or fourth year, and recruiters do take that into consideration. And see, nobody really cares what you've done in the past, and what really matters is what you have done for them. I mean, so because the recruiter has no chance of seeing what you did in some other law firm last year or maybe in last semester. So what reviews matter is what you are doing right now for that person. The last internship may have been bad, or you done something else. So I think as a recruiter and as a person, like suppose I have a lot of interns joining in our team, I never ask them what you did in your last internship. I purely judge them for the work they do for me or my team. So it's something that recruiters do take into consideration. So if you have missed out something in first, second, third year, or maybe, so there is, I mean, don't take that too much seriously. Your work will speak for yourself. So I don't think so that past experiences of internship matters a lot when it comes to getting a chance, converting
Right.
your internship into a
Yes,
placement.
I'm sorry I'm barging in, but that's the reason I said it's not important to mention your like internships. You can mention any article submission, any essay writing, any debate, or any mood co for that matter. This will definitely upgrade your resume. So it's not important to mention what you have done in your previous internship, because maybe I have done internship with a litigating lawyer, but now I am applying in a in-house counsel. So this
True.
in-house counsel has nothing to do with what I have done with a litigating lawyer.
Exactly. That shows that you have had the experience of diverse areas, and you were experimenting. Because as a law student, it's nobody will say, "Oh, you have done only litigation in terms of why you were coming for a corporate jobs." You say, "I was experiencing," because internship means experience. It's not something you have decided in your mind. So that's how it should be.
Who would like to add on? Let me ask Prateek, sir.
Yeah, I'll probably add on to what Ms. Surangnama and Mr. Prakar said. Basically, writing articles, and when you read, first of all, when you read a lot and you form an opinion, you write about that. Maybe you can write that in your CV. For example, if you are applying the cover letter, say that, there's this certain amendment in this law. I was reading about it, and I feel that, it has, you know for example, if you're writing an article, if you applying for an arbitration internship, maybe you can write that there was this recent amendment, which I think that will increase the scope of arbitration, and since you are a premier law firm in arbitration, I would take this opportunity to intern with you. So that helps as well. And so this is what I feel, that if you read, you form an opinion, you write, you're automatically giving yourself a good chance for having an internship because you're doing better than others.
Thank you, sir. So, like, who's up for sharing their own personal experiences of internship?
Yeah, we are keen to listen that because
Yeah.
we are in our college
I
days.
would, I would love to share it. If anybody else would like to start, then probably I can continue. Or should I start?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
why I always love sharing my internship experiences for the sole reason, as I mentioned, I have done 12 internships in my quite 5 long years.
That's a lot
Now,
of internship.
yeah, so why? So when I entered my college, I believe I was the only student who said I want to go for a corporate law. Subsequently, I did my initial internships because in first year, this is very clear with all of us that first year we can't expect much from the student. Even it's not possible for them to understand anything. So first year goes very smoothly. Like you go with your reference, wale uncle or auntie, and they'll take you to court, and you'll just walk around in that corridor and everything. After that, I wanted to focus and get a taste of in-house. So that was the time in my second and third year half. I did my internship with in-house counsel. For that reason, I have done internship with Sahara and Coca-Cola companies like these. After this, I wanted to have a taste of, because then that was a time in third year when my parents allowed me to head towards Delhi. So that was a time I said, now I wish to take a taste of law firms, the law culture. Because some or the other way, I had this thing in back of my mind that I want to be a corporate lawyer. I interned for like 3 semesters. I was interning with the various corporate law firms. I got bored with it. That was the time I realized, why shouldn't I try ministry? I tried every possible ways to get into Ministry of Finance for my final internship. I somehow got an opportunity. That was the time I was like, no, this is not a place. What am I doing? I'm just doing a research part. For 1 long month, I just did 2 research, nothing else. That was the last internship. After that, I somehow ended up getting a good corporate job with a law firm, with a renowned law firm. Because at that, even that point of time, I had this thing in my mind that in my long 5 years, the only culture that attracted me probably was the corporate culture. So I got in with the corporate law firm. After a year, I realized, no, this is not my cup of tea. Maybe litigation is something. So experience and internships, they go hand in hand. you gain, you expand your vicinity, you explore, you broaden your mind, and you learn to get into comfort zone. So expand as much as you can until and unless you are strong enough to understand that what specific genre you want to work for, which I believe is technically not possible with the graduates. So explore is the just go anywhere. And under current circumstances, where you can maybe not geographically explore things, but you can understand and experience different area from all over India. And probably for that reason, if you have good scope, you can work right now with companies outside India also. So get on their vetting, get on their drafting part. So explore as much as possible. Internship is all about exploring.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
who would like to go next?
I could go next.
Yeah.
I think if I had to summarize maybe 4 to 5 points as to what I had faced in an internship, and hopefully it'll be something useful to the interns watching this or the law students watching this, is that as Ms. Pallavi had mentioned earlier on, I think one of the most important parts of an internship is to read. This is the stage where, whether it's a judgment, a brief, an order, or contract, you should read to retain information. Okay, this is the information that will help to shape you into a better lawyer, improve your legal language, and that will just improve your entire way of thinking. So the very important is to read. Second thing is to learn from other people's mistakes and experiences. So as a law student, you have the advantage of talking to mentors, seniors, anyone in the profession who's maybe a couple of years ahead of you, and ask them what would they have done differently. Ask them what did they learn in a particular field that they are, and automatically you will get a clearer picture as to what maybe you would like to do. So you should always learn from other people's mistakes. The third thing, which is I think very helpful not only as a law student but as a lawyer, is to always go to the root of your research. An internship is always, not always, but it has a lot of research work. So always go to the very fundamentals of your research. It's not, okay, this is my research point, I got the answer, let's go. Why is it? Why is the law like that? Why is it not something else? So once you begin to break down your research, I think that's really helpful. It's also something that's very helpful at time of arguments. A lot of litigation counsels think that way. Break down your research. Another point is to just observe. Of course, right now we are in the area or period of virtual internships, but let's say it's physical. Observe things in your office. When I mean observe, I don't necessarily mean, okay, observe what is a contract and how do you file a particular petition, but observe how a law firm works. How does the hierarchy work? What is the logistics involved? All these things are taken for granted as an intern because you're like, I'm not, whatever I have to do in all this. But the moment you become a lawyer, that's where you might actually have to do something. So observation is very important at the stage of internship. And last but not the least, it was mentioned before also, but do not resort to copy paste. It makes your life easier, obviously, but it is not good in the long run. If you resort to copy paste for everything, one day you'll realize that, oh my God, I don't know how to draft a contract, or I don't know how to draft a notice, because I used to always take a format, copy paste some paragraphs and change the numbers or names here and there. So I think, this is what I have learned in my personal internship, and this is something I advise my interns. So I think this is helpful.
So is there anyone who would like to share his or her experience as well?
I'll just add something. Actually, one reason I was very excited about this panel discussion was, I wanted to just say this. This is one thing which I don't know if I should, but I was a terrible intern. And I mean, terrible is actually an understatement. I was horrible in my internships, and I'll tell you why. So firstly, I was a very different kind of introvert while I was in law school. Now I was somebody who was into public speaking, who was giving speeches in front of 3,000 people, who was doing moots and everything. But when it came to speaking to people in person, having one-on-one conversations, I was just not interested in it. I was just not comfortable with it. So when I landed my first internship in a corporate law firm, I had no clue what to do. I was just sitting there, and I won't name the organization, of course, but I was just sitting there and just sitting there for the entire day. Nothing happened. I'm not kidding. Nothing happened on day one. Day two, I go there. I'm again sitting there. Nobody's talking to me. I am an introvert, so I'm anyways not talking to anybody. And the internship passed. So 30 days I was interning in this leading organization and nothing happened. I was just sitting there. My parents would ask me, and this internship also I got it after a lot of sending. I wrote to them. I did whatever I could to get this internship, and I literally did nothing there. After that, again, I was like, maybe, corporate law firms are like that. Nobody talks to anybody. So now I'll go to a litigating firm to intern. Maybe there's somebody who will talk to me. So I get an internship in a litigating firm. Now things are even worse there because nobody's in the office till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock because people go to court. Right, everybody is in the court, so nobody is there, only in the office, and I'm sitting there quietly. Of course, there are some juniors who are doing their work. I'm sitting there. I'm not talking to anybody, because I don't talk to people, and I'm not asking anybody for work until 5 o'clock. I'm sitting there with nothing at all. At 6 o'clock, maybe finally when people have come from court, they have to prepare for next day. So yeah, maybe then I would get work. But I wasted my entire day literally sitting there and doing nothing. Then I thought that maybe this is also not my cup of tea. So I would now work for a PSU. I would go for a government organization. My parents also they're into government jobs, so they were like this is what you should do. A government organization is going to be great. And I landed an internship in a leading PSU. Now that was even more crazier than the corporate law firm internship and the litigating firm, because government offices work in their own fashion. Like things are people come, they just sit down comfortably there, they have their tea, there's not as much work, to be honest, as it's there in other. So people are just comfortable and nobody's gonna even look at you. Yeah, there were other interns too. So I was a law intern, there were marketing interns, there were lots of interns, and nothing was happening. We were just going there, we were sitting, we were having our tea, there was lots of food, we were given lots of things to eat, but yeah, nothing really happened there. So then I finished 3 years of law school. I've done internships everywhere I could. I'm a good student, I get good grades, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm questioning maybe this industry is like this. But eventually I realized that it's not the organizations, they are busy. If you're gonna sit there and not talk to anybody, nothing's gonna ever work out. So yeah, first 3 years of if I have to talk about my internship experiences, they were, waste is just the right word for that. But yeah, eventually by the time I was in my 4th year of law school, I understood that how things go and how things are to be done slowly. Then when I started working, I went to a firm again, and it was I would say a great experience. Things I learned there, I would say, were things I've never learned in my life. So yeah, a lot of students actually complain about this, that they intern at places where they're not given work. But I can talk with my experience that you will get work only if you talk, only if you ask for it. People are busy, lawyers are busy. So please, next time, I know, especially for first year law students, next time you're in an organization, I know for a fact you will feel lost, but then please just try to talk to people. They will help you out. There's something I did not do, but I think everybody who's watching this should do it.
So who wants to go next, or shall we proceed with the next question?
I would like to share
Yes, sir.
my internship experiences. So, one thing which I've realized from all the internships is one is don't say no to anything and be up for challenges. So, I have very funny story. Funny in sense that I had a group in my college, like we have 4 or 5 of us. So we used to intern a lot. Like we really interned in length and breadth of this country. We went to Delhi, wherever we could get an internship. Somebody told that there is a firm in Hyderabad who is accepting paper CVs. So you send them by post and then call the receptionist. They will give you an internship. I did that also. we were not getting any internships in Delhi or Bombay. So this is like in the fourth year. So me and I think three of my batchmates, we were given internship in Amarchand Mangaldas. So that time it was Amarchand Mangaldas, not Shardul. So, and the internship was in the month of March, and we had our college in the month of March, and we had, I think, midsems also in by because it was in the middle of a semester. So we really, I mean, and the HR said we can't prepone or postpone the internship. You have to come. And Amarchand, what it does is it gives you a 2 week internship and then it extends. So we had a sort of arrangement with our professors that we'll come every Saturday to attend the classes and rest. Please, we'll intern. So we used to take a train or a bus from Patiala to Delhi on Sunday, intern for like 5 days, and Friday night we used to go to bus stand, take a bus, come back to Patiala, attend the classes on Saturday, and Sunday leave again. So this, and we did this for like 4 weeks, and that really helped us professionally. It helped us in our career. But now, if we look back, uh, one should always, I mean, try taking. Sometimes you have to take these steps. Maybe uh, some people told us you are mad. What is this? What are you doing? You're traveling day and night. But we said, okay, it's if there is an opportunity, should take it. And secondly, what Avni said, and what I feel is that what people look for an intern is their future teammate. I mean, so it depends. Every team is different, every organization is different. So you need to sense some kind of atmosphere of that place, what they are expecting. Suppose if you are interning in, there are places which are very, there are firms which are very, they have a very different atmosphere. So you need to sense that atmosphere. Somebody rejected you, not gave you a PPO, that doesn't mean that you are not good. So always think that, you need to see how the atmosphere of that place is. So that is something one should take into mind. And always be up for opportunities. Like, I mean, I was interning in Delhi, then I went to Bombay. Then my senior said that, there is a internship in Trilegal Bangalore, and I have rejected so you apply. So I went to Bangalore. So 3 months I was in three different cities, but always in a law school, you can take these risks, and you should make the most out of it. I mean, it's better to do something than just do nothing. So take that chance, take some risk, and as an intern, uh, be extrovert, but don't be so much pushy with, suppose you join an internship and every morning you just roam around and ask for work. I mean, okay, some people may give it to you, but some people are busy. So just be kind of blend into their team, blend into, see the how the associates are, how the seniors are. So just try to make that image of a future teammate rather than some legal scholar, or just you have to amend your personality as per where you intern. So that really helps you the long way. And I think that's something, the biggest takeaway that I had in my internships, that every place is different. So you need to mold yourself. And that's what, I mean, my experience has taught me for last, like, when I was
Thank
in
you
law
for
school.
sharing your experience, sir. So now I'm proceeding towards the last question, and I must say that is like that question is for each and every panelist. Like, isn't it important to put a spotlight on the issue of mental health in relation to the workload you get during the internships? So I'm gonna start it with Advocate Pallavi.
See, I think in our profession, not just in the internship level, but at every single step of the way, mental health happens to be a very important challenge that all of us are facing. It's not even funny. I'm glad that you've even raised that issue. Um, the whole idea, mental health issues is not just because of workload. Like a lot of people said here, there are times when you just don't have any workload because people are not able to share their work in terms of assign works to you regularly. And I know of firms where the entire work that is given to an intern is to go and inspect file for the 30 days that he's interning, basically. So I think it's one's own way of dealing with it. But as far as mental health issues are concerned, I think these are important issues. If there are areas where you feel that some kind of a harassment is taking place, it's best that you speak to the seniors who are there. I think every one of us is always very cordial to address such issues. Second, I think the challenges that we face as far as mental health is concerned, that requires a lot of internalization of the threats that you see in your environment, right? So it could stem out of insecurity that you might have because somebody else is doing an internship which is way better than you, and you feel that I'm not doing actually anything, or maybe this is not such a great place to work in. That then you have to basically look at your own self confidence and the fact that you have to accept where you are just now. So those, I think, are challenges that only you can overcome. These are all what do you call it, challenges that all of us, even at a very senior level, I see, all of us have those threats that we have to overcome. There are times when you're feeling low, especially with in the current times. I think for the past 1.5 years, mental health has become a huge challenge because of pandemic. We are all stuck in our houses, or there are long periods of time where we are stuck inside the house because of the curfew or the lockdown, and we are not able to step out. We are not able to interact with people as much as we would have wanted to. So I think these are problems that are there. A good idea to address mental health issues is to actually approach a therapist. I've always been very, very supportive and very vociferous about the fact that I think therapy is always good. It's not clinical therapy, it's just talking it out. Maybe it's with your close friends, maybe it's with your parents or anybody that you deem close to. And second, if there are times when you feel that you have to say no, please by all means say no. I personally feel that learning to say no early in your life is always going to be very helpful in your entire life which is ahead of you. But you must know when to say no. Like for instance, Prakhar just said, and I really liked what he said. He said that you can't. So you basically have to put in hard work. So he interned in 3 different cities in 3 months span. That is, I'm not really saying anything Prakaria, but I know of a lot of interns who've interned under me who would not as much as travel from Patiala House to Supreme Court. So you can understand, the kind of lack of enthusiasm that they might have towards learning also. So there, when you said that I've done 3 internships in 3 different cities, I think hats off. We all get our mixed bag, and believe me, I had an intern who joined me in the 4th year of his college. I retained him for the 4th year. I retained him for the 5th year, and now he's an associate with me. And like you said, he understood the culture. He understood what it is that we are looking at. He understood where it is that he could contribute. I think that is fabulous. And like you said, I was actually looking for a teammate. So now what happens is, tomorrow, if I get a good intern, and I actually, a lot of times interns feel that maybe because they're not directly reporting to me, I would not be noticing them. I'm actually noticing everyone, and I want to see who has the potential of actually being a team member. So I think I deviated from the question at all completely, but yeah, that's my 2 bits on it.
Okay, so Prateek sir.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Ms. Pallavi said. I mean, it's important to say no with respect to the workload aspect. But for interns, for example, law students, what we are facing, what they are usually facing is the competition, the competitiveness. In fact, on the social media or any such way. So that's important. You need to know that on social media, everyone shows their best thing. I mean, there's layers to it. It's just the surface level. So you need to understand that everyone has their own story, everyone has their own struggles. So you need to respect that. If you want to take inspiration out of it, you can definitely take inspiration out of it, but do not feel jealous about it or feel that you're not doing anything, because in fact it has happened to me as well. I mean, when I was 1 year back, I wasn't that involved in social media and all, but I used to see a lot of people posting like what they have done, their credentials and all, and I was like, why are they doing so much and I'm not doing? But to be honest, when I used to talk to that peer, to those people, and used to connect with them, they used to tell me that how they went there. There was a story behind it. So it's important to understand the story, and it's also important to take inspiration out of it. So that is how you can maybe counter the competitiveness in terms of protecting your mental health. And in terms of the workload, yes, as Pallavi ma'am said, it is important to say no sometimes.
Okay. Danesh, sir.
Sure, I just a point to add on that, as is already discussed, mental health, it does not affect only interns or entry level lawyers, but can happen anytime in your career. And as I say that, the only thing more important than your physical health is your mental health, because the profession comes with high expectations, low tolerance to risks, and that just puts a lot of pressure on you. In fact, recently I just read a study about how so many people in the legal field suffer from imposter syndrome. For those who don't know, watching this, imposter syndrome is where you feel you're not as competent as what other people think you are. And it's not a great feeling, right? You think, oh my god, I don't think I can do this, or I don't think how can they trust me? I myself don't trust myself in doing it. So this affects us. It affects everyone, but it does affect lawyers a lot more because of the amount of pressure that's involved. So your life goal should be, I think, to try and achieve a work-life balance. Give your importance to family, give importance to friends, give importance to yourself. That's the most important. Go see that movie, watch that show, grab that drink. Everything is not about work, right? Don't kill your hobbies. Like that's something that's going to keep you going, and try and enjoy the work that you do. If you're going to wake up every morning thinking, oh my god, I can't wait for the weekend, you're in the wrong job. So it's everything's not about money, everything's not about work. You have to create that work life balance.
Yes, sir. Avni, ma'am.
Right. So as far as mental health is concerned, firstly, something very important is we are living in difficult times. I mean, there's a pandemic which is going on, and everyone's lives are affected. It's not just students. It's not just lawyers. Everyone's going through, I would say, something nobody imagined. Times are difficult. Even finding a job is difficult. I know that for a fact. Finding internships is difficult, and especially for students who are in the final years, or who finished college last year or this year. I know these are very difficult times, and I know for a fact it is affecting their mental health because they are not able to get work. So something which is very important for people to understand is that I know for a fact that because of COVID, it's not just them who's not getting work. Nobody is getting work. Sadly, it's part of their journey. And because I work for a media organization, we get lots of negative news coming in, that the lawyers who've taken some difficult steps, and that there's a lot of negativity around. So a couple of things, especially for students, is that especially for students who've passed out recently, is that sadly this is a part of your journey, but there's nothing nobody can do about it, because it is nobody thought there's going to be a pandemic coming in 2 years. But eventually everything settles down for everybody. There are people who get success when they're 45 years old. There are people who see success after they retire from their standard jobs. There are people who've become millionaires at the age of 72. So it's timeline. I would say it's different for everybody. There are some people who say you're in final year. One of your friend might land a job in a leading law firm, for example. You might not, and you might end up feeling very dejected and very sad about it. But maybe 10 years down the lane, you might become more well-to-do and more successful and a better lawyer and a better person. Who knows? Or a lot of things have happened. People have lost their jobs. Maybe somebody had a job before, somebody was doing better than you, but then they lost it because of circumstances. A lot of things happen in life, and right now, especially with the times we are in, there is no certainty. There's no certainty of anything, is what I can say, sadly. So straightforward advice for students who are struggling with work and internships is, hold on. I mean, you cannot lose your confidence right now. It is difficult. I know for a fact. We open, anybody, if you open your LinkedIn timelines, you will see people have lost their jobs. There are multiple posts about not getting work, people getting, falling into depression, someone struggling with COVID. Lots of things are happening, and I know it's very, very negative. And saying is easy, but of course, somebody who's going through everything only knows that it is very difficult. But in this field, if somebody wants to do well in the legal field, confidence is something which is going to take you places. Somebody who's not confident, or who has lost his confidence so early on, will find it very difficult. So yeah, times might be difficult, but yeah, it's important to wait for your time to come. For some, as I said, might take some months, might take a year, but it is going to happen because times change, right? Things are getting better, so I'm sure they will get better for everybody out there as well.
Thank you, ma'am. So over to you, Surendra, ma'am.
So this entire topic have been like beautifully taken by my friends out here. Only I would like to say mental health might be an issue for a one who is suffering, and the other person might not understand that situation at that point of time. As parent, as a sister or a brother, or any relative, if anybody who is having any sort of issue, please make that person feel comfortable with within your company, within your ambit, or try to speak with that person. It's not only with interns, and especially when you talk about a lawyer, or specifically this profession where we are into, this is a profession of patience. We need to keep patience. So just believe this is probably this time you guys have to put in more efforts. You need to be more patient. So just be patient enough to handle this situation, and be physically fit, be happy, feel good that you are getting more exposure sitting back at home, and you have a better opportunity to work with many reputed firms or companies. So take that as an advantage, and not as a something that will stress you out. Time will change, things will fly, so be patient for that.
Rakhar, sir.
I think this is something I have had my personal experience in law school, and looking back like 5 6 years back when I was a law student interning, I just have one key takeaway that there's a saying that bent in the road is not the end. So see, as a law student, you have two biggest challenges. One is getting an internship, and once you get that internship, the biggest challenge is will I get a job or not? And these two questions really break you down mentally. I mean, I personally have experienced it. Like when I was in my second year. So there is an anecdote I want to share. I was in my second year towards the end, and all my friends and all my seniors, everyone was getting good internships. They were interning with AG, ESG, top law firms. I had nothing. So there was an internship committee in college, and Supreme Court judges were giving internship then. I applied for it because I did not get acceptance from anywhere else. So I thought, chalo yahi kar lete hain. And I think it was second year. So I was interning with a Supreme Court judge, and just imagine I was so impatient and I was so anxious. I asked the Supreme Court judge only on the last day, "Sir, मुझे internship दिलवा दो. I think my career has failed, and this is the last internship I'm doing. I don't know. I have not no confirmation." So he told me something that it takes time. You have to be very patient. And the next thing, and then after that, it was all slide. Like after second year, when I was in third year, I started getting internships. So I got one internship, then second, third. Then it happened a lot. And then the second mental issue comes in when you are in fourth year and you want a job, and you interned at places, but they are not giving you a call back, or they are not directly telling you that we can't take you. And you ask for the interview, they said okay, we will tell you. So that is also a very difficult phase when you are in fourth or fifth year. So what I did not get a PPO. So what I decided was, final semester I did not intern. I thought that okay, because see, we used to intern during college days as well. So like the session starts in January or Feb, we used to intern, then used to come back in March. Last semester I thought that I'm going to spend my time with my friends in my college, and I'm not going to think about it till the time I graduate. And I did, and most of my friends, we all did exactly the same, that you know so take care of your mental health, especially in the last semester, and just leave that thing. once you graduate, again start with it. And eventually all of us graduated. I remember we all came to Delhi, got enrolled, and we started looking for jobs, and we got it. So it's when you are in your second year or when you are in a fourth year, you may think that the world will crash and I have nothing in my life which is left and everything is against me. But these things seems very easy 5 6 years down the line. So now when I look now we have bigger problems. We have bigger professional problems to deal with when we are professionals. So uh, be have that patience in you, and eventually everything turns out to be well. So have just believe in you, and then don't think that if I don't get that and ये internship नहीं मिली तो life खत्म हो गई, ये सब it's all nonsense. So just believe in yourself and enjoy your especially your last year, because as I said to Damini in some other session, that enjoy your last year or last semester in college. You will not get that time back, and after that you start fresh. You will get something. So it's progression which is inevitable. You will progress in life, and I mean, unless and until you don't want to, you will eventually progress. So don't think much about it. And one more thing is, I have seen there are a lot of internships where students are made to do very menial jobs. I came across some place where students were asked to just translate or type. Their job was to just type 2000 pages in a month. So just don't go to these places. Get a review online. I mean, get review from your friends how that place is. Don't just go for an internship just for a brand or for a certificate. So take these things into consideration. If the internship is not good, if the review is bad, don't go there. I mean, just don't. Even if they accept you, don't take that up. So that is what something which I feel. I mean, as a law student should follow.
Thank you so much, sir. So with this, we are done with the panel discussion now, and now I'm opening the floor for the audience to connect with you.
So if anybody have any question, so they can ask their question or they can write their question to us and we'll ask them.
No, they can also unmute themselves, so
Yeah.
they can directly connect with the panelists.
Hello everyone. Sorry. Hello everyone. Thanks for the session. My question is, since the panelists highlighted the need for connecting while being a student, these days LinkedIn is like quite the thing. It's really prevalent, right? So once we have applied for the internships, do the recruiters consider the LinkedIn profile as well? Like someone who posts regularly is likely to get more internships, or what do you think?
I think any one of you can answer this. Like, the floor is open.
Sure. Very good question, firstly. And I would like to answer that is because I don't think so I've ever hired an intern without looking at their LinkedIn account. I have not done it. I mean, I don't know if others are so actively looking at LinkedIn profiles, but I do. And this is something I've written about a lot as well, is when you look at somebody's LinkedIn profile, right, you get to know a lot about that student. Now, one thing is students can write on LinkedIn. Now, I can take names also, but there are some students who are actually writing incredible content on LinkedIn. Now, of course, if a student like that, sends me an internship application, of course, I'm going to take that intern. And another thing is, even if you don't write on LinkedIn, right? Like LinkedIn actually shows you your activity. The employer can actually see as to what kind of content you're liking, what you're reading, what's happening, and it's not always important to have a right or wrong opinion about anything. Firstly, I personally think that no opinion is right or wrong. It's no ideology is right or wrong. So if a student has actually even made an attempt to express an opinion, might be correct, might be not, as I said, but has made an attempt to express himself. Of course, you're a student, you don't know how to put yourself, but if you've made that attempt, right, I'm really appreciates that. So if definitely, if I see students who are actively writing on LinkedIn, asking questions, if you're a student, see, maybe you don't have a right legal opinion about something, but you can actually put forward questions to professionals, right? Show your inquisitive side. So if somebody has done that, definitely it's gonna be helpful for you to land an internship and even a job in future. Your LinkedIn profile, I don't know if I don't know if your Facebook, your Instagram, and all those things help you get work, but definitely your LinkedIn profile can make you stand out.
I second what Avni said. Even I prefer checking out LinkedIn profile before offering any internship.
I think
So
one good thing you can do is in your email signature, you can create a hyperlink for your LinkedIn
LinkedIn
profile,
account, right?
and
Absolutely.
that helps the recruiters to just quickly check the profile and see, and because it's something, it's for networking, and uh, it really adds on, gives a value addition, and have a professional profile picture on LinkedIn that sometimes really matters. So I think recruiters do look at the LinkedIn profile before taking a call. Yeah.
in my view, I think it's a very subjective question, because if you send it to an independent practitioner, there's a very high chance they will go and see who is the person applying. When it's more of a law firm, it will probably be, like what is the CV, what is the cover letter. But I would personally view the LinkedIn profile as a bonus. It is not the start all and end all of how you are as a person. I would, at the end of the day, still depend on the CV and the cover letter. So I would view LinkedIn profile as a bonus, nothing more.
Okay, any other question from the audience?
Takshima, we have one question in the comment box.
Okay, I will take that. So the question is from Upasna, and she is asking that for an introvert person, are virtual internships beneficial?
Avni should take this again, I believe.
Right. Yeah. So I've told my tale of internships already. I'm not an introvert person anymore. I used to be. I'll just clarify that. I work in corporate relations. I can't be introverted anymore. But yeah, foreign, of course. As I think I mentioned that earlier also, that the most, I would say, the best internship I had, which actually helped me the most in my career, was a virtual internship, which happened in the final of.
Hello.
I think there's some technical glitch.
Yeah.
So, like, if any other panelists would like to answer this question.
I think Avni is back.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I was mentioning that as far as virtual internships are concerned, I had already mentioned that the best and the most fruitful internship was a virtual internship in my case. And of course, if you're introverted, I get it that you can't talk to people, and in a virtual internship, you will just be getting mails and text messages from people, so it'll be easier for you. But having said that, of course, and I think everybody on this panel has said it multiple times, so I'll just say it once again. It's very, very important to, interact with people and speak to people while you're interning. And Prakhar has also mentioned this once, that it's not just while on an internship you're speaking to people. You should actually be speaking to people in your college, everybody, your friends, their family members, because our industry, as you know, is all about making connections. You might get your first legal notice from somebody, from a friend, who has a small consumer complaint, etc. So of course, virtual internships are going to be great if you're shy, and you cannot ask for work, and you cannot have a one-on-one conversation. But yeah, having said that, you shouldn't be that person for long, because end of the day, you are going to become a lawyer, you are going to have clients, you will be talking to a lot of people. So yeah, try to, I would say, change that habit a little bit. Of course, we cannot change our entire personalities, but yeah, a small little effort can be made.
I mean, one thing which I would like to add, I mean, it's, see, you can always experiment a lot with your language when you write. So maybe because of the virtual internship, you might be getting the assignments on email or a WhatsApp group. So, see, if suppose an assignment is given, be proactive in responding to it. Don't sit there like somebody else, because somebody else will be doing it. And suppose you have, I mean, somebody who has a fear of, not fear, I would say, who is bit introverted, I would say, then the person can improve a lot in writing. Suppose the kind of emails you write, if you are drafting an opinion, so just uh, try to uh, cover up with your writing skills. Because see, in the end, if you've written something really good, that also really helps. So and that should, I mean, cover up with your writing skills. If you don't want to really interact on a VC meeting or a phone call, just cover up with your writing. That really helps.
Yes, sir. So even I have a personal doubt. So there have been many times when we get internship, we feel that for working, or many students like us feel that for working they should be getting something, like maybe some amount of stipend or something. So what do you guys you feel about giving students this so that they are motivated enough to come and work?
I would say that, I mean, sorry if somebody wants to answer that. Stipend is very important as an intern. It depends. Uh, I mean, yes, law firms, many places have started paying the stipend. Because as a student, if you're interning in some outstation city, there are expenses to bear, and you can't always, ask your parents and all when you have expenses. So, I mean, a lot of places do have paid internships, and I think as a practice, it should be promoted. And I mean, that's what my point on.
Okay, sir.
As an intern, if I say, as an intern, I think we should not be expecting, but as an employer, as a person who's recruiting you, from that point of view, I completely agree with what Mr. Prakhar has said. But as an intern, if I'm a student of like first year, or probably for that matter, if I'm a student of fifth year, at that point of time, my whole focus should be learning, gaining that experience. Because anyway, we are in such an industry where again, I would say, where we need to keep patience. Patience to, have your name in market, patience to be recognized. We need to keep patience to earn. So that should not be the wholesome motive. The motive should be to learn, to gain experience, and then explore the other way out. So that, as per intern, because again, I have done several internships, I was never having that expectation. And maybe out of those 12 internships, I was paid at few, but that was never my motive. My motive at that point of time was to go to a place where I can learn and explore myself. So keep that as a motion of motive.
So don't expect, but if you get that
Yeah,
incentive, so
go.
just
That should never be. That is always appreciated and
yes.
welcomed.
I mean, I got a 15,000 stipend once I booked my air ticket from Bangalore to
Oh, you were
my
lucky.
college.
You were so lucky, Prakhar. Then.
Yeah. So I mean, that's how I booked the ticket. Otherwise I was taking a train, but when I got that
3,000
stipend,
rupees is incredible.
Yeah. So any other questions from the audience? Do we have any other
Yeah,
questions?
that's going to be the last question.
Yeah. Any one of you?
Can I go forward if you allow?
Yeah, Rajat, you can ask.
Ma'am, I have a very genuine question, and I believe that most of you would agree with this. That in the era of LinkedIn currently, in our professional particularly, we come across profiles who are loaded with publications or moot wins or internships and all that sort. So and it is a common saying that everyone on LinkedIn is an underachiever. Right. So I just have a very legit question here. This, people might differ also, but I had my personal question that how to deal with all those, all that kind of stuff when you are demotivated by seeing some other person's profile, even when you know that you're doing satisfactorily enough on your part.
So should I?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Rajat, very well. I mean, the question that you have asked, maybe this is not only with the students, maybe this is with us as well. We see our colleagues' profile, which is extraordinary. But now I know personally that what I'm doing with myself, or what I'm doing at this stage of time, is probably I am satisfied with it. As I'm sorry, I'm unable to recall, but somebody from amongst us only mentioned that all these profiles, all these, whatever you see there, people put their best. So maybe that person has done 10 things, out of which one thing is best that you can see. and maybe you have done 5 things out of which you think one thing done by you is good or satisfactory as per you. So put that up. You should have competition with yourself and not with any other profile. So make your profile look professional, as Avni said. Make your profile look good. Put good contents. It's not important that you should have absolutely amazing vocab there, but make it presentable, so that if anybody is viewing your profile, that person should at least have some sort of impression. So do not get fascinated or attracted or demotivated by others' profile. Make your profile look attractive and substantive.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So now we won't be taking any more questions. So I would like to ask Takshima to present a formal vote of thanks.
So it is my honor to have been asked to present the vote of thanks on behalf of Team Legal File. I am wholeheartedly grateful to all the speakers for sharing their insightful thoughts with us. We have been fortunate to have such a renowned dignitary in this session with us today. Thank you for sparing your precious time for us and providing us with great knowledge and advice. I am thankful to all the participants for coming here in this session and also those who have been watching this live on YouTube. I also take this occurrence to thank the whole team of Legal File for organizing this successful event. Lastly, I must remark a proficient sense of gratefulness to all of our guests for sharing with us some of the finest tips, and all the participants have been greatly inspired by you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting my invitation, because that was the biggest challenge before me. I had to decide like whom should I invite and whom should I not. But then I invited you people, and actually I had that feeling in my mind that maybe you'll reject my offer for sure, because these are such testing times. But you all accepted my invitation in such a short notice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
That means a lot.
Lastly, we can take a picture if you all agree with us. We can take a screenshot.
I think Advocate Pallavi has left.
Yeah. I have
Ma'am,
already
due to some
taken.
unavoidable circumstances, she had to leave. There's some medical emergency. So she texted me.
Okay, sure. So 3, 2, 1.
But Takshima, I'm sorry, you didn't ask me to switch on my camera.
Yeah. I thought you'll be open.
But I'm so sorry, I cannot actually, like all of you know that I'm from Jammu and Kashmir, and there's a red alert over there because of the terror attack. And the internet connection is not that stable, so I won't be able to switch on my camera. Apologies.
It's okay. So 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much for joining us. May you have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Thank you.